Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We're the Hudson City Public Works Committee, and we are meeting on Monday, February 12th, 2024. My name is Joy Knudsen, and I am the chair of the Public Works Committee and alderperson representing District 3. I'd like to call our roll call tonight. We'll start with Michael Kennedy.
Here.
District 4, Mike's here, and Sarah Brook, who represents District 5.
Here.
Present also. Thank you. We've got a great quorum. Also, several staff members here to contribute this evening. To my right is Director of Public Works and Parks, Mike Mraz, and Executive Assistant, Deb Andrews, who has held down the fort here at City Hall for many years. She knows everything to do with parks and, right? Almost everything. And then to my left is our city engineer, Aaron McPhee Anderson. So appreciate everyone being here in attendance tonight. First item of business is to approval of our minutes from our last meeting was January 10th. Does anyone have comments or corrections?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Thank you. And at this time, we always offer time for any citizen comments. If anyone has some input on a topic they were addressing or that they would like to see us address or concern in our community, you're welcome to come and speak to us directly. Tonight, there's no one present, so we'll move on to the next item in new business. We have an update on we're having an audit by Wisconsin DNR, and Mike Mraz will explain that process.
Yep, so annually the DNR does an audit of MS4 programs throughout the state. Our MS4 program got underway back in 2017. This will be our first audit from the DNR since our inception in 2017. And so basically, they're going to be coming here on February 29th. A couple of staff members from the DNR are going to come and walk through our program, look at what we're currently doing, look at ways that we need to improve, so on and so forth. I expect a good conversation. I know both ladies that are coming through our Rain and Rivers Consortium. They come to our meetings every once in a while, so I know them quite well. They're very good to work with, and looking forward to talking with them. But just letting the board know that we are going to be going through that audit, and I know there's several things, questions that I want to bring up to them regarding our program, just some clarification on some items. But we had to do a bunch of legwork here the last couple weeks, putting together documents for them to kind of get things prepared. And yeah, so I just wanted to make you aware of that. And like I said, nothing to be overly concerned about or worried about. We're not going to get fined or anything like that. It's more of just an open conversation of things we're doing well, things we're not doing so well, and areas to improve.
So it's a luck of the draw kind of audit.
Yep.
Occasionally they select different municipalities. One thing, would you mind giving a little background for anyone in the public that might not understand? You said started in 2017. Could you give the background of what happened in Hudson? Was it our growth of our population base?
Yep, so MS4 programs statewide, they kick in when the population gets over 10,000 people or more. And so once a municipality meets that threshold, they need to develop a MS4 program for their storm sewer systems, and they need to pull a permit from the Wisconsin DNR in order to discharge water into navigable waters or any type of discharge points. So basically with the permit, the city is required to follow and achieve several different things throughout the year, including, pond inspections, construction site inspections, pollution control, education, public involvement, illicit discharge programs, and so it becomes a pretty robust program, and the DNR has oversight over all that, and we have to submit an annual report every year to them just to kind of give them updates on what we're doing, what we have done the previous year, and then what goals we have for the following year. So that's kind of a little bit of background. But like Joy said, it first kicked in back in 2017, brought SEH on board, did a stormwater management plan, did a bunch of modeling throughout the community. Based on the modeling reports, the city of Hudson is doing quite well with stormwater treatment. I know like other communities like Menominee, they're a little behind on some of their TMDL, total mass daily liquids. It's scientific terms, but anyways, they're having to construct new ponds in existing residential and commercial developments just to capture enough stormwater runoff to treat it before it goes beyond that. We're lucky where we don't have to do that. Our current system met all those requirements, and so that we didn't have to put in any more storm ponds or storm sewer systems in our existing city. And then when we bring in new developments, whether it's residential or commercial, each one of those sites are now required to treat their own stormwater runoff on site. So we're ahead of the curve, thankfully.
So you expect, like you said, you'll learn from the audit, but hopefully will. And when was the actual utility established, then the stormwater utility?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know off
Do
the
you
top of
remember,
my
was that
head.
before your time?
Yeah.
Here, okay.
Yep.
It
Thank
was
you.
right around that same.
Quiz for Deb, okay.
Yeah.
but-
I mean, I can't remember the exact year, but.
It's probably around the
Okay.
same time.
So the stormwater utility provides quarterly fees to every property owner.
Yep.
They pay as part of their utility, and then that provides the resources to, we've been buying some equipment, things like that recently.
Yep.
Uh,
Use the
so
money,
We have a
yep.
designated staff member
Yep,
who
use the
handles a
money to
lot of
help pay
that.
for staff, any type of materials related to stormwater systems, helps pay for sweeper, part-time sweeper guy, engineering studies related to stormwater. So it supports the program, helps clean ponds, replace storm sewer structures that are failing. So that's where that utility goes towards.
Okay, great. Anyone else have a question or comment for Mike?
Good luck.
No.
Thanks.
Good
Yeah.
luck, right, DNR. Okay, thank you. Next item then, under new business discussion, possible action on alley assessments. So I'm going to turn to Erin McPhee Anderson to lead our discussion.
Yeah, so this item has come up as we're working on the alley designs for the 2 alleys we'll be reconstructing this year. And so just as the engineering team has dove into kind of what the assessment policy says, what past alleyway assessments have looked like, there I feel like needs to be a little bit of clarification in our assessment policy. And then also, there was a 2021 alley amendment that Mike put together, and just kind of reading that specific language and talking about it with, city staff again, we would kind of like to revert back to what the old policy says and make some other amendments for added clarification. And so the update in 2021 was essentially, instead of just assessing for all alleys, it said when the alley is just being like mill and overlaid, or reclaim and overlaid, then that would be 100% covered by the city. But that when the alley had to be a full reconstruct, it would still go off the 50 between city and property owners. And that, just from my perspective, when you're having to do the alley improvements, when they're pretty much, they were all kind of redone, I think, in 1994, basically, most of them except one. And so we're kind of playing catch up with reconstructing. There's not really a lot we can just do like a mill and overlay to, and it also just felt a little bit maybe just like unfair, I guess would be the simplest way to put it. Like, why would, someone gets a new alley, but since maybe they were just lucky and it ended up, not being a little bit better of condition, so we were only able to do a mill and overlay versus a reconstruct, it just seems like a little bit unfair when the alleys are really to access the private properties. So everyone, for the most part, was assessed in 1994 for all the alleys. Then alleys since then have been assessed, and then we'll have 2 more this year that do kind of fall more under that full recon. So regardless, they would have to be assessed anyways, but it just seemed like we could clean up the policy. So the rest of the policy doesn't really clarify a lot of things about the alley. There's a few little sentences about alleys, but it's not very specific.
Okay.
So some of the other details I thought would be worth looking into adding would be clarifying the method of measurement, so going to the front foot method. So there are different ways you can apply assessments, and the front foot method would be kind of the #1 approach for alleys. I also researched some other cities. There is not a lot of alley information, I feel like, in even some of the other ones I found, but I did find that they also used front footage method.
Could you just detail what that is?
What that is, yeah.
Thanks.
So basically, you take the full project cost and you take the total linear footage of the project, divide it into a per linear footage cost of the improvement, and then each person's property abutting the alley, whatever their linear footage is, you apply that per linear footage rate for their assessment. So if someone has more property adjacent to the alley, they would get assessed more than their neighbor that has a shorter property line
'Cause
abutting the alley.
The other way that we've seen it done in the past is, let's just say there's 10 properties on the alley, right? They got to cover 50% of that improvement. You just split it equally amongst the 10 properties there. Now, that's not fair to some properties that have longer
Right.
lineal footage abutting, so that's why Aaron is recommending that,
Yeah.
front foot method.
Yep.
So, and what about if they don't have access on the alley? Let's just, I know that's in
Yep.
here, but let's just cover that too.
Yeah.
Or
Oh,
whenever
yeah.
you want to.
Yeah, that's definitely, it should be regardless of property access because you are adjacent to the alley and you are benefiting from the improvements because one, you could, even if right now you may not use the alley to access your garage, say, you would have the potential in the future to rebuild your garage and have access off the alley. You could be using the alley for other things. People like store things on the side of their house or side of their garages, and it's like, so they're still using the alley. So just talking, and some other things that I've read, it's like if you're adjacent to the alley, you're benefiting from any improvement because it is along your property. So.
And how about, if I remember correctly, there's like some apron issues, or, how do you deal with that?
Then I was thinking what seems to make sense, so the aprons are kind of like the entrances into the alley off the public roads. That I was thinking would be covered by city, since that's, almost like it's not adjacent to anyone's specific property, it's adjacent to the city right of way. We, as a city, want and have the right to access the alley and want to maintain that. So we're not saying that the alleys are private, so it just kind of makes sense. I feel like I thought that the city pays for like the entrances.
So that's your third bullet point in the issue sheet, where the
Yes.
100% city cost is for the driveway entrances.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, because I
Yeah.
was confused
If
about
you-
that
oh,
part.
okay.
I did get confused when I
Yes.
saw 100% city cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That refers to the apron,
Just-
the entry.
yes,
In other words,
yeah.
that apron comes from the street curb.
Yes, yep.
Over a sidewalk, if there is one.
Yep.
And through, okay.
Yeah.
And is
Thank
that
you
kind
for-
of like a standard on almost every alley?
You
Well,
have some alleys that don't have it, but it should be a standard.
Number of linear
Yeah.
feet?
yeah, and yes, that's a good point. What I could add is we do have a standard detail plate for like an alley. If there's a sidewalk or not a sidewalk, it would, could potentially be different dimensions. So I could clarify that even further, saying like, which our standard plates usually say it's like 5 feet or to the back a walk or something. So then we'll have that exact, like, this is the standard we follow. So that could be clarified as well. Yep.
Do you think in that policy somewhere you could detail what that front foot method involves?
Yep, it actually is detailed quite a bit.
Okay.
It explains the front footage method in a different section.
Okay.
I could explain it more under the alley bullet point if needed, and I could review exactly what the front footage calculation paragraph says. But yeah, that is in there,
Okay.
basically on how to,
So is there a document that wasn't included in our agenda? I apologize. I
well,
should
just
have
the
discussed.
overall assessment policy.
Okay, I
That's
see.
just on the city's
Sure,
website.
because
so
you've
it's like
included the
done a link to
change.
that.
There was a
That's-
change that was made. So when you're saying repeal, so you, under staff recommended action, you were recommending repeal of the policy, just that one part.
Yeah, just
That was
the,
brought
yep,
forward, that was
so-
voted on in
Yep.
March of 2021, 3 years
Yes.
ago.
Yeah.
And that part was basically, it's on page 7 of today's agenda, that said that if there's only repaving, the city pays 100%, but if there's reconstruction, we stay with the 50.
Correct.
25, 25.
Yeah.
So it's like that one section. So we probably should see like a red line document I don't know if we need.
Yeah.
Are you hoping for a vote from us today, or
yeah,
where
so
are we?
I think what I was, and thinking about it more, I guess, in the actual policy, there's been a lot of amendments, and they just list amendments with dates on the front page of the policy.
7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. There's
yeah.
been like,
Not even on there?
Well,
Oh,
I don't think so.
sure.
So
That's quite-
pretty much,
guessing it probably
I
isn't.
think if you guys
Gave that up.
are good with like the items we talked about, and you know think that all what I'm suggesting makes sense as far as front footage method, basically regardless of access, current driveway access to your property, and then having the alley access be 100% city cost. Then at full council, I could put like a redlined full draft of the full policy. So if that's what you're not looking at probably on your
Yeah, that,
screen then.
yes, yeah, that's,
Fine, yep.
Is
So-
there a time sensitivity for your assessment work this spring and
Maybe,
summer?
well,
because the improvements this year were gonna fall under the, let's just say, the old assessment policy. anyways, 'cause
Yeah,
both
so-
reconstructs.
Okay, sure. And if I understand it correctly from what you've told me
Yeah.
before, Mike, is that maybe 80% of our alleys do need, unfortunately, there hasn't been any work
Yeah.
done. So that's part of our goal, is how can we move forward so that they are improved, they're more drivable, safer for people. So the current policy, the selected alleys that we've already voted on are going to be assessed already this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's
other
going to
comments?
be the 50% by the homeowners who have driveways on that, or,
nope, there is no clarification right now in the current policy whether your driveway is on it or off of it, it doesn't say.
okay.
So it's been up to interpretation by city staff in the past whether someone, I guess, would get assessed. I was able to find the 1994 assessment roll, and it was essentially, included most everyone adjacent to the alley.
So in that regard, this would be time sensitive then? So to clarify
It
that
might be
front-
helpful
To
for
clarify
those
it,
residents.
probably, yeah, I
Yeah.
would want to do it sooner rather than later, so, I'll kind of look at trying to see what the best wording, I guess, of everything, because I also, maybe there is a situation where, and it might say a general statement in the assessment policy is, the city has the right to kind of make, I don't know if the exceptions probably isn't the right word, but like sometimes there's just a circumstance like that's so unforeseen or like unique that we can choose to like do it a different way, or like say for some reason we're doing the linear, like a good example to me is you're doing a linear footage method for a block with a cul-de-sac. Well, the cul-de-sac houses have like 5 feet of right-of-way on the cul-de-sac, but everyone else has like 50 feet, so they're getting the same benefits. It doesn't make sense that they're only charged 5 feet versus 50. So there's kind of a, like an amended front footage calculation you would do in certain situations. So just things like that you don't want to make the policy too restrictive, I guess.
Sure.
But you want to provide enough information to provide direction.
And does the current policy, I know even the projects this year there are some retaining walls and
Yes.
issues there, that'll stay in place, that whoever has a retaining wall would be probably paying more because they're going to have to contribute towards that replacement, or not?
That's not what I was thinking.
Okay, so what is the current,
Yeah, I mean.
sorry, I don't know the current
I don't
policy on
know,
that.
I guess retaining, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's something we could continue to talk about, but we also have a curb and gutter policy. Curb and gutter assessment method.
Yes.
And that's 50%, you pay for the 50% of the curb and gutter. So say we have a curb and gutter along an alley, well, is that, it could be debated, does that property owner adjacent to it get charged for that, or do you just split it up in general because it's part of the full alley construction? And I guess I'd be curious what you guys feel like would be fair, but it makes it complicated because then if there's a curb and gutter that's needed for the alley construction for whatever reason, it would be considered a rear-facing lot or potentially corner, and we don't assess rear-facing lots for curb and gutter. So,
That's what this,
It's like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
so
Yeah,
then it just seems like it's
Wow.
cleaner if it's like the alley costs are split up.
So let's say, just here's a hypothetical
Yeah.
to help me understand that, thank you. So let's say part of this alley does have a retaining wall that needs some work. So that's going to be lumped into the total cost, and the owners are going to pay based on, their front foot method, a percent of the cost, whether they have a retaining wall or not. So the whole project might go up a little bit because there was a retaining wall and the project costs more.
Yes, and we could, if we want, I'd have to dive into the retaining wall policy again. If we want to talk about if it's a retaining wall holding up the alley, to me, that makes sense that it's a general benefit to the alley. If it's a retaining wall holding up, someone's yard,
Property.
well, that's kind of a benefit to the homeowner, because if we didn't have that retaining wall, well, we could just give them a steeper slope, and usually, there's a lot of that situation downtown where people, like, it's harder to maintain a steeper slope.
Right.
So that's where we could, to me, maybe make sense that we could just go that route, I guess, for retaining walls. But then, again, if the retaining wall is holding up the alley, the held-up alley, which is gonna have like maybe a better cross slope, kind of benefits everyone driving along it.
Right.
So,
And
Complicated.
it's, and
yeah.
this-
Yeah, I
And
follow everything you're
that's-
saying, but it doesn't,
Yeah, but that's the
conclusion
issues that I'm
is,
getting
yeah.
into, and like, okay, we need some
Yeah.
clear, it'd be nice to have some.
Oh. What are the thoughts?
I think the point you're making about the retaining wall, where if it's a benefit to the alley and it's not the homeowner and addressing their slope issues, I think what you said makes sense.
Yes, okay.
And if it's benefiting the homeowner only,
Yes,
then I understand that.
yep.
And I think the alley that's being done on, let me just think streets here. 5th and 6th, in between 5th and 6th.
Yep.
I think that one has a retaining wall in it, a very small one, or I don't know if that's.
Yep.
But I don't think the one between 4th and 5th has a retaining wall.
Right, but we'll probably propose adding one essentially, because that's the only way we're gonna fix the cross slope. That it was the
And is that-
main complaint of that
sure.
alley.
And is that closer to Locust Street?
That's, I have to look at a map, because I
Or
get 'em
closer to
confused.
Vine Street? Oh, okay, Vine Street, okay.
Complex projects.
Okay.
Each one's unique.
Yeah, they are definitely unique. So the retaining wall thing makes sense. I guess, what do you guys feel like for just, if it was just curb and gutter? Which most of them shouldn't really have curb and gutter. We just
think
have
this
a unique alley,
The one we're
which I
doing this
think
year is the
I'm
only
gonna
one
do
that I
a
can think
retaining
of off the
wall.
top of my head that has curb and gutter in it.
Right, so that's usually not
Yeah,
gonna be an
it's
issue.
more retaining walls and kind of the older.
Yeah,
Right.
but it would be, yeah, if there was something like, oh, we decide to do a valley gutter down the middle, well, then that's kind of part of the alley, I feel like, but,
Well, it sounds like, it is nice to have a policy that's workable and in place, and staff knows what to do and moves forward with it. I appreciate your approach that it is true, as much as homeowners may not, I don't want to have to pay for that, yet that is that's their approach to their property. That's how they have the right to access their property from there, whether they currently are. Like you said, there might be a garage that they have a pickup that doesn't fit inside, but someday they may rebuild that garage, and now their vehicle works better. So it is part of, so I definitely think that the homeowners, the property owners, should contribute to the project. So I guess I'm kind of looking for direction from our committee members, how you'd like to move forward tonight. Do you think we need more discussion or bring it
Go
to
ahead,
council?
Mike.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
I have one question maybe for clarification. For the recommended amendments, you have A, commercial and industrial districts, and B, residential
Yep.
on your sheet?
Well-
So we,
Well, this sheet is the old one. Sorry. If it wasn't, this is the 2021.
that's what I'm, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of the old one. I guess I could have put like a big red, like,
Right, so we're looking at.
repeal on it,
At
so.
the top of page 7 on today's agenda,
Just-
residential
yeah.
districts, just that section.
Okay.
So yes, a red line document would help us
Well,
be clearer.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
and that's maybe where I
so-
got
Yeah.
confused.
Yeah.
But I know that we talk about, where did I just do it? We talk about initial construction, which I don't know if we're gonna be creating any new, alleys.
No.
Right.
And then we talk about mill and overlay
Thank you.
and where that falls. And then, there was one word, improvements. Where does improvement, what is that, tell me what that function is. Is that adding an apron and as you mentioned, maybe a center curb or whatever you call those, the drainage?
Alley gutter.
Yeah, when we say improvement, I guess it basically means anything related to the construction or reconstruction of that item.
Okay.
So,
that
you know,
mill and overlay
improvement.
would be an improvement?
Yeah.
So, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yep. But just note, yeah, sorry for the confusion, but the thing actually attached is the old one I was looking to just
That's the
kind
one
of.
I drafted.
That's
3
the
years
old
ago.
one that we would kind of nix, and my updated language is just on the front page of that issue sheet.
Okay.
And I did,
So for the, this was the easiest way for me to get it in right now, but then for the actual council, I would put it in the actual, I could upload the full policy with this as like a red line version of the full new
right,
policy.
which would be like,
Because we're not
It'll
planning
be
to
more
change
clear.
commercial and industrial.
Right, okay.
That'll
Yeah,
still
no,
be
yeah.
the same.
Yep.
Did that clarify?
Yeah,
what
that
you were-
helps, yeah.
Okay.
So if I can summarize, because I think I'm going to be getting phone calls and I really want to make
Yeah.
sure I understand
Yes.
this. The alleys that are being done this summer are going on that 50% by the city, 50% by the homeowners, and that 50% will be split up based on the number of homes on that alley.
It will be split up per the linear footage of their property.
So we are doing the front foot
Yes.
method. Okay, okay,
Yep.
so that's good. So I was
Yep.
not clear on that. Okay.
Yes.
And
I
then-
think I was going, yes, the front footage method is the way we would go.
So we are not going to be sticking with the policy then, which is what I heard said.
The policy actually doesn't say that it's by each right now.
Okay.
So there is
So there's,
nothing.
We're gonna add
that
some
we're
clarity.
not- Yes, we're adding clarity. There's nothing we're.
Contradicting. We're
Yeah,
not
yes,
contradicting
yeah, we're not
what's there.
contradicting anything. We're just adding clarity.
This is why you're seeking a method that's
Yes.
easier
Okay.
to apply.
and Erin
Yeah,
and I did
and-
talk about this at length, just because she wanted to get my input after we made some changes in 2021. And I told her, I said, you know, whatever is going to make your job easier and you can explain it to the citizens easier, you know, I'm all in favor for that.
Yeah.
So I have no
Okay.
qualms about changing this. So I'd rather have it be black and white for everyone to understand it.
I agree.
So we're not,
Sure.
because right now, like you said, well, is it the parcel, is it by foot? Well, it really doesn't say, so it's kind of left up to each engineer how they want to apply it. And we've looked back at old assessment rolls and like, even some old projects weren't assessed the same.
Okay.
So it's like, let's just get it all the same.
Okay.
Let's
Set a
move forward.
precedence, and
Yeah.
now we can
Okay.
point to it.
So as far as our work as a committee, we have moved our meeting for March up a week, just to arrange for our schedules. And so we're meeting on March 6th. So if we decided that we'd prefer our city engineer to complete this, pull it all together, really, all the language so that we understand it clearly, we could vote on it that Wednesday, March 6th, and then it could still be passed later. I mean, it could still be passed by March 18th. I don't know
Okay.
if you have meetings. I know you are required to have a public meeting and notify people of their assessments. That was going to be coming up.
I don't think that this technically needs to be, I don't know if it technically needs to be approved to move forward, I guess, with
Sure.
the assessment
And maybe we're all
calculations,
comfortable
but-
with it. I just want our committee to understand it.
But
like
you would
said, to
also,
answer it.
you guys would all obviously are on the full council, so that
Correct.
would be, you would still get to see it.
So
but-
you're hoping perhaps that it could be ready next Monday on the
Well,
19th? Okay, how about the first one in March? I mean, sure, I'm not
Yeah,
trying
when
to
it-
press
or,
you or
yeah.
pin you down, but perhaps you'd
yeah.
prefer to see it come to full council on March 4th.
Yeah, I guess I could potentially get it done by next week, but I would more shoot probably for the 4th.
Yeah.
Just because I want to make sure, the language reads.
Certainly.
Okay. Yeah,
How's
that
the
would
rest-
be preferred, but I totally understand if you guys want to, see it again.
I'm open to input from,
I mean, as I understand how you've laid it out, how we've laid it out verbally, I think, I mean, I kind of approve with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's sheaths and sheaths of paper behind all of this that we maybe don't have access to right now, but like you say, it's, the real push of this is just that one small item that we were reading. So I guess I'd feel
Yeah.
comfortable. I don't know if I don't have alleys in my district that I know of.
is
No,
Councilmember
you're
We're gonna
jealous.
add them, we'd
So
like
jealous.
to be adding them, but no, I'm just kidding. So I kind of would defer to,
Yeah, and I
little
think
bit
I
more.
feel comfortable too. Now, I'm going to be honest, I was confused on the front foot thing, front foot method. Now I understand. And so the thing that where I take peace of mind, I was confused on how this looks, so I know on March 4th we'll get the updated
Yes.
policy, red line
Yep.
or ordinance. And then if for some reason we aren't comfortable, we can pull that
Yes.
and bring it
Yep.
back to this committee.
Yeah.
So I feel comfortable
okay. yeah.
with that.
So it'd go to council on the 4th.
or, yes, as soon as you're ready.
Yeah.
In other words, so the action that, at some point in the council, will need to make that change, and perhaps by a red line, we don't even have to officially repeal it? I don't know if
Right, yeah, we
think
probably
we just-
wouldn't, I
two
guess.
separate
Yeah.
votes, or just this is a
Yeah,
change?
Just update the
That's
special assessment policy.
Legal,
That's basically-
legal decision, how it's,
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd probably say you
so,
just
yeah,
need
well,
to
it's
go
good that
with
we've
the
had a good discussion about it, and it's true, Sarah, you're the expert on it,
I
or
am
your
not- I-
neighbors.
I'm learning a lot more.
Yes.
Yes.
But you're right, it's your district that people will be wondering and questioning, and I think it will make it as fair as possible, and people all contributing up according to the property size, the length of their footage.
So maybe if you want to do the number 2 action though, like to, still go to council, that we should be going to council, I guess, with it.
Move to bring the assessment policy updates related to the alley assessments to the March council meeting.
Is there a
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second that staff will continue to finalize the assessment policy regarding alleys and their assessments, and bring that to council for amending, approval and amending our current policy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. That has been passed. Okay, thanks for the input on that, and keep trying to make things understandable, equitable for various property owners, and make it easy for staff to implement as well. So the next item on our agenda, now we are in old business, 2024 street reconstruction projects, which include Vine Street and Green Street. And I am recusing myself from discussion and vote on this, and so I'm going to actually ask Public Works Director Mike Moraz to lead the discussion, and Aaron can explain. So I'll step back from this part of the meeting.
Okay. So after our open house, well, no, we didn't have an open house on this one, I'm sorry, 11th Street. So after some initial comments from public on this project, specifically for Vine Street, staff met with SEH following over the last few weeks and made some amendments to the initial kind of layout, which was brought forward previously in a previous Public Works Committee meeting. And so what I asked Erin to do was just put both the Vine Street and Green Street projects on the agenda tonight and have her walk through what those changes are. And then just to let all of you know that we do have an open house scheduled for the 27th of this month from 5 to 6. It's going to be an open format to kind of just walk through the projects and have the public come and look at, maps and answer any questions that they might have. We did mail out a bunch of postcards to adjacent property owners so on and so forth. So hopefully it's well attended, and like I said, people in the community can get their questions answered at that time. So with that being said, I know Erin put together kind of the schedule. She can go over that and then maybe just walk through the updates, that we made from the previous design that we reviewed here.
Yeah. So I'll just mention, so the open house, it'll be open format. We're not gonna do a presentation like at 5, like kind of what we did for 11th. It'll just be come, look at, go wherever you want, look at the layout you're interested in. And so besides just we'll have the design that will be presented here as a layout, kind of long roll plot format, but I would like to also talk about the detour route with you guys. And so that I would like to present at the open house, just to start getting people aware, I guess, see if there's really any major concerns about it. And so we'll just do the detour route first, because I'm talking about it. So the first layout, kind of the traffic control concept map. In general, we like to think about detour routes as being kind of on a road that's like similar type of road or higher. So just say a collector street's getting reconstructed, we'd want the detour route to be on collector streets. If it was a local road, well, then you can have detour routes on local roads, just so you're not shooting a bunch of like arterial traffic onto a local street. So it is a fairly long detour route. And so just with the width of Vine being so narrow and the condensed schedule, since we really want it to be done like outside of the school season, we feel like we need to kind of close as much as we can to get it done versus trying to like phase it. We'll have letting traffic through, and that also just presents more safety issues for anyone working on the construction site. And so the caveat with that is there is the YMCA and the professional building there that has businesses that need to, be accessed. And then there is one church on here that doesn't really have like side street or their only access is off of Vine. So those are the two areas we do need to leave open for access. So we will have special signage, we're gonna plan to kind of keep that first stretch of the roadway kind of between Bella Rose and Diamond Drive. That will be open for back and forth traffic to just the businesses in the YMCA. So it'll be signed, this is only for the YMCA. It should mostly be able to stay open. It will be like gravel conditions for a portion of it and things like that, but, and then for, that would be, I guess, for people going westbound. For eastbound then, to access the YMCA and the professional buildings office, I am showing a detour a little bit more through the local roads, just hoping, there is definitely, there's a good amount of people that go to the Y, but that is, I also didn't want it to be a big, long detour route for someone to get to the Y and then preclude, people from not going there anymore, if they're more on this side, of the city. So we have that separate detour route that we would sign for like just YMCA and Diamond Drive businesses only kind of route.
That's the green dotted line.
That's the green, yeah.
Yep.
And then the blue route is kind of Carmichael to Cooley to downtown to Vine, and that really, the only other alternative is letting people turn or signing the detour as going up 11th. And, since Vine is more of, a principal arterial and 11th is only the minor arterial, I believe, it just, we'd probably sign it this longer route and, typically people find their way however they want, but.
Yeah, the sign detour out in blue is like Erin said, the locals are gonna find their way through these, they know.
Yeah.
It's more for the delivery trucks, the semis,
Yeah.
a lot of those trucks use Vine Street to access downtown and then head north on 35.
Yeah.
So I don't want them cutting through any neighborhoods on a signed detour route. So I kind of told Aaron, it's like, let's go down Carmichael to Cooley, out to Second, so that we're not having a lot of large, heavy traffic cutting through residential neighborhoods. So that'll be the official signed detour
Yeah.
route. Like I said, locals, they will find their way through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, the intent is to keep, like I said, keep the access to the Y and the professional building open at all times, as well as the church is too. Okay. Makes sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
I like it.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So then we will, I'll go to the schedule, that's just next on the issue sheet. So we will have the open house on February 27th. Essentially, it's more of an informative open house to let people know what the design is, you know, what we're moving forward with, what the detour route is. It's not necessarily to say, hey, what do you think of the design? You know, give us feedback, unless it's, you know, people are always welcome to give feedback, but it's not that type of open, that's not the purpose of this open house like 11th Street was.
Right.
You know, that was like preliminary phase, we're getting close to final, we've done our initial, you know, review, and so it's I just call it informative open house.
And the typical cross-section of Vine Street is not changing greatly,
Right.
right?
Right.
Still, we already have
Or-
pedestrian accommodations, it's an arterial street, so it's not like we can really cram things down. A lot of turning movements at Grandview, I mean, so it's one of those things where, like Aaron said, it's more of informative. Here's the project, maybe answer any questions about, you know, assessments or schedule or timing, or can I get to my house, or how, you know, that type of stuff, that's what it's meant for.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I was thinking it should work out for bidding if the council would approve the plans and specs on March 18th. Then, you know, there's kind of a timeline I need to get. I put the ad in the paper, but I also put it online. It's called Quest CDN. It's like the bidding website that we use. And then you have to I like to give at least 3 weeks of kind of the bidding, and then we would have the bid opening in the middle of April. Then that should give time to actually award it by the end of April, and then, you know, work on the contracts and things throughout May so that they can get rolling right as school gets out. And Green Street, the schedule will be a little more flexible, but, you know, if we got everything in place and they wanted to start Green Street early, you know, that would potentially work, but, so that's the schedule. And plan for just the one construction season. Any questions on the schedule? All right. Okay, so the Vine Street, so yeah, like Mike said, this kind of came to the last meeting, we've made a few tweaks, and so some of the updates are, you know, for the most part, fairly minor, but we expanded the radius on kind of westbound to northbound Grandview, which is the bus route. And I actually went out there like 6:45 a.m. and kind of watched all the traffic at this intersection. And really, you know, even the existing conditions, like the turning radius, yes, the buses did overtrack into like the opposing lane, but there was really no cars going that direction. So there was never a point when a bus was like sitting waiting to make a turn. There was never buses stacking in the right turn lane. So, you know, I feel good about that, and, you know, it'll make it a little, the turn still a little bit easier. And since we are going to be trying to get more sidewalk easement at this location, then we didn't have concerns with right-of-way at this time, because we are kind of going over the right-of-way right now. So we'll just have to confirm that. We increase, you know, the left turn lane is just a striping thing, so there are people, so the through lane, actually, if you can imagine, I don't know how many people, you know, or at one point in your life did take this route to get to school in the morning. But the through lane,
Many
yeah.
times, many times.
The through lane traffic actually gets through it fairly quickly because there's not really a lot of, I'll say people definitely were stopping, but since there's not a lot of side street traffic in the morning, it's kind of like stop, go. You know, it's not like stop, wait for other people to turn and then go. So actually the through lane never really, the through lane though does still back up, kind of past where the existing turn lane is striped today. So what I'll say though is the right turn lane and the left turning traffic did not like flow into the through lane traffic, if that makes sense. So the turn lanes aren't like precluding people from going straight. And so, but there is, since the through lane kind of backs up like quite a bit, which we show, so if you, well, go to page 4 of the layout, you'll kind of see that the left turn lane is going to be striped as a longer lane, just to kind of allow people to try to get into that left turn lane sooner,
To go south on Grandview.
to go south on Grandview.
Oh, okay,
And so it's kind of, people basically do that today, so we'll just try to help it a little bit with striping. And then we did remove the eastbound right turn lane at Diamond Drive, so that would be going, you know, you're going eastbound Vine Street to southbound Diamond, more into the neighborhood. This was more because we don't have a lot of right-of-way to add in the right turn lane with the adding the pedestrian kind of refuge island. And this way we can kind of keep the same storm sewer and curb line in the same location. There really wasn't a lot of right turners here throughout the day, so it's really not a concern from like a traffic operations perspective. And then we added in the right turn lane going into the Y and the professional businesses. And so hopefully we still do need to evaluate filling in of the pond on the south kind of east corner, but like SCH is, you know, pretty confident we'll be able to make something work. So it looks like we should be able to have the right turn lane plus still get a tiny bit of boulevard space to hopefully move the RFB, because that was kind of my concern right now. It's like on the back side of the trail. And so now being in the boulevard space, the flashing beacon for the pedestrian crossing will be a little more visible in the 3-foot boulevard area. And then we, minor tweaks to like other little, you know, if you were comparing, like overlaying the designs, there's other minor tweaks to like some sidewalk connections to the side streets and things like that. But those were the main updates. So any questions or comments on the Vine Street design?
I think it looks good. I did try to overlay it. And that
You,
there. Oh, wrong street.
Right.
But no, I think, because we did get some good feedback, and so I'm glad we addressed that without, there didn't seem like a lot of trade-offs. I know you were stuck because there's only X amount of width and
Right.
things like that, but we're not compromising sidewalk. I think that crossing looks safer.
right.
Understood. I mean, you can really see it now where with basically 5 lanes and a pedestrian trying to cross there, I mean, without some of this re-engineering, that makes it a lot better. So,
Yeah.
from what I can see, it seems an improvement from last go-through. I've done a little investigating too and seeing that, and it really does depend on the day of the week too.
Yeah.
You know, you think, oh, school's getting out or school's coming in, and it's like, where is everyone? Next day they'll be there, you know, type thing. But no, I don't have any specific issues or questions on any parts of this.
I feel like the modifications and the tweaks are good and they make good sense, and I'm respectful of some of the comments that we've gotten, so I feel comfortable with that. I was just thinking on that open house, just making sure that on the 27th, that's maybe noticed, since there could be more than, we could have a quorum there of city council people,
Right, yeah.
so. And, oh, so you are looking for recommendations
Oh, no,
tonight.
sorry.
I'm
So then I'll go to Green
Green
Street.
Street, okay.
If that was it for Vine. So the Green Street design, these are just the, draft of the construction plans that we're working on. it's really gonna look the same. The curb and gutter is essentially going in the same location. We actually got, one of the borings showed like pretty poor soils, so we are gonna have to beef up the pavement section for our cost estimate, and we may not encounter, we only did 2 borings. One of them was pretty good, one of them was pretty bad. So we kind of assume for the worst with the pavement design, and if we encounter like, oh, this isn't as bad as we thought, maybe we don't have to put as thick of section as we're designing for. But that's all stuff you don't really, see at the end of the project. So as far as what the project design is, it's gonna, it's the same width. We're redoing all the curb and gutter, so we have to redo, everyone's driveway aprons, and we'll plan to, if it's bituminous, right now, we'll put it back as bituminous. If it's concrete, we'll do the concrete apron, so we're not, unless someone requests something else, which sometimes they do. There's 2 hydrants we're gonna replace, but in the same location. And we are still evaluating, SRF is helping us a little bit do some stormwater calculations as far as if we should be adding any storm sewer pipe. Initially right now, you would typically space inlets like every 300 feet in a new development, say. There's 2 inlets on this entire stretch of road. Well, actually 3. There's one at the end of the cul-de-sac. And so,
Which may contribute to why the condition is the way it is.
yeah.
Yeah, good point.
So we should, have like a few more sets of inlets with actual like storm sewer pipe running parallel to the road. So we are going to look at, what would we recommend if we were kind of designing this as a brand new road for storm sewer capacity? Then we'll do a cost estimate with those numbers, see if that all make, if we can get away with that with like either the stormwater funds we have left or just within the construction budget. And so that's the only thing we're still evaluating. And so that would put a little more impacts on some of the properties if we do end up putting in storm sewer pipe along parallel running under the curb and gutter. Yeah, does anyone have any questions, I guess, about Green Street?
Does a code lead you to, when you decide to put more catch basins in there?
I don't,
Is there?
Standard design practices.
it's
Okay.
more from a,
Final engineering and,
yeah, I guess nothing would be forcing us. It's if we, which sounds like if we think there's an issue, we'll try to fix it. So that's the thing we'll kind of balance, I
yeah,
guess.
okay.
How about the residents that live there? Kind of what's the plan for them and their vehicles and that kind of stuff?
It would be, any project like this, like Laurel Avenue, people always get access to their property. Since this one's gonna be a little more of a subcut, they will have to work with the contractor for how people are gonna be able to access their properties at the times when there's gonna be like a grade differential, but usually they could just ramp up. Say we have to cut like 2 feet below the pavement, and then your driveway's still up here, so they'll put like gravel in between so you can still get up. But, yeah, so people will still have access to their property for the majority of the time.
Garbage is
Right.
kind of the other issue that we hear about too then.
Oh, yeah, we always, that's usually something we coordinate during like the pre-con
Okay,
meeting.
okay.
It's like
Okay,
the contractor usually has to coordinate that.
okay. And how long do you
And,
think
yeah.
this one, the process will take?
Oh, the construction?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
guess I haven't thought about it in detail, so I don't
Okay.
want to say anything off the top of my head right now. Since it's a little more work than just like the reclaim on Laurel.
All right.
And it'll depend on if we have the storm sewer pipe work or not.
Sure. And Mother Nature.
Yes, well, yes, it's always weather dependent, like
So this project has
weather-
no water, no sanitary,
Just the hydrants.
just the hydrants.
Just,
Well, I guess there is some sanitary work that Kip, the utility department, is doing separately. He just felt like it would he wanted to do it as a separate project. And so there is like a few minor spot repairs. So he's gonna do it though before we come in with the roadway project. He's contracted separately with someone with a different design firm, and different contractor will kind of come in and just dig up a few spot areas and make some sanitary sewer repairs. So it's not gonna be part of our project.
So the fact that we
So-
have no really underground utility work will help the schedule.
Okay.
obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And I think, yeah, I guess the action, was essentially kind of just approving, well, it'll be in a different format for like a nicer format for the open house, so it's a little more readable with the aerial, color aerial and stuff like that. But as far as like the actual design, you see just kind of approving that to go to the open house.
Would you like these as 3 separate, or can we just do them all at the same time?
You could do them all at the same time. I just did that separate just in
Okay.
case.
Move to approve the Green Street design for the open house, the Vine Street design as well, and the Vine Street detour route, all for the open house.
Second.
All right. Wow, I'm sorry. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Sorry, Joy.
No problem, that's okay, thank you.
Yep.
Taking the lead on that. And please note that I recused from that in the notes, the minutes. Okay, our next item is then a discussion, possible action on traffic calming policy. And we did have quite a good discussion. Public safety has had in-depth discussion. Thank you for all your work on it. Aaron, I know you've collaborated with other staff too, because certainly the public safety staff, as well as Public Works, you're moving in a direction of getting everyone to collaborate. So we have a new document in front of us tonight, which I believe the acting city administrator has asked us to discuss, and if we're ready, approve it, so that then it could go to the next step. They would like us to take a vote.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so, yeah, I'll take this one. I will go over, so we've had a few iterations. I've kind of take comments, revised it. And so this is kind of the latest after hearing all the comments. I think it has been all really good discussion. And I guess the other major thing is I went to a conference recently. It's called the SEAM, City Engineers Association of Minnesota, and they specifically had a continuing ed class on traffic safety committee panel discussion. So a lot of other cities have traffic safety committees, and so it was a whole, hour of like how do different cities handle it and things like that. And one of the major things they reference is the Local Road Research Board, which is a kind of a Minnesota research board on roads. And they actually have a report called Addressing Citizen Requests for Traffic Safety Concerns. So it's a whole research report on it. And I was like, oh,
Good
that
timing.
sounds like a great, yeah, it honestly, couldn't have been any better with the timing. And so part of my changes reflect that. And I guess overall, kind of where I was thinking this policy would move towards more of a traffic safety policy versus just traffic calming. And the whole reason I wanted to do that is, I heard, oh, well, there's this stop and yield sign policy. Well, that's a separate policy. Or, when people come to us with a complaint about a stop sign or wanting a crosswalk, it's like, does that, it kind of seemed like people want it to be under this policy versus like, nope, this is just for speeding, and everything else goes through a separate, I'm trying to combine everything kind of traffic, that needs to be engineered related into this policy. So I've updated the verbiage, I guess, to say traffic safety versus traffic calming. There still is more of a subsection on traffic calming because I felt like there was still some things I wanted to clarify for just the speeding concerns. And then also kind of under this policy, it's kind of more laying out the procedure. It has different, a few guidelines in it for like traffic calming. But in general, I think we can, as we feel like it, update or add other specific policies that would kind of be part of this process. So the related documents are merely just kind of, if someone's looking at this, there's also these other specific items I should go to look at if I want to make a stop sign. So a lot of the common requests in any city is crosswalks, stop signs, and speeding. And I think everyone has, would agree with that from your experience. And so, so
Well, then just to clarify,
yep.
Aaron.
Yes.
So the traffic safety policy, would you incorporate the stop and yield sign policy in here, the complete streets policy, or are you just referencing?
I'm
those
just
documents?
referencing it. I don't think they need to go into it, because then I feel like those can be separate. It's just a reference.
Okay.
So I wasn't gonna like lump them as part of the policy.
So
I
they
think it
wouldn't-
just gives us a little more flexibility.
They wouldn't fill out something for this?
Yeah, they would.
They would,
Yep,
okay,
yep.
okay.
It's more of basically, if we want to update the stop sign policy, I'd almost rather just like go try to get that updated versus keeping re-updating the whole policy, if that makes sense.
Different sections. that
Yeah,
apply.
it could be organized differently, but a lot of the other cities actually don't have like official policies written down on paper. It's typically, the process is kind of what we have been doing. You get a concern complaint from any method, phone call, email, whatever. And so,
In person?
yeah, I feel like, in person. I feel like we're a little bit getting ahead by having this, and I really like the application process. So, yeah, I liked your guys' comments about, I took out the specific, like, I can't ask for this specific item, but just add a lot of clarity on what is your concern, when is it happening, and then we'll kind of take it from there. There was a concern about timing, and obviously communication with the citizen is very important. And so I didn't want to put too much constraints on myself. So I was wanting to more commit to like within 72 hours, and that's more like, well, if someone's on vacation or someone's gone, I could try to do it sooner, but within 72 hours, you'll have like, hey, we received your application, this is kind of the plan, because every situation, we're not really gonna be able to lay out a standard timeline. It'll depend on the weather. Do we need to like get traffic data, or is it a simple, we look at what the guidelines are, and maybe we don't need to collect any data depending on the concern. So I don't have other specifics besides, we'll get back to you with what the plan is. And then we'll let you know, what the estimated kind of timeline is. The other change, so I was trying to clean it up. I know there was a lot of concerns with kind of the petitioning. Part of it, from my perspective, is just like, well, that's gonna be a burden, I guess, on our limited staff to like be getting that petition.
Okay.
And so pretty much, I just figured, I think just wipe it out, honestly. And if we feel like it is something, though, that is going to have a bigger effect on the actual neighborhood, I think it would be easier for us to send a letter saying, this is what we're looking at doing. If you're opposed, please let us know.
So which step are you talking
Yep.
about there? Thank you.
Oh, yeah, well, I could go through the steps, sorry, if you want.
What was that under?
That was
Step 3, city may
step
reach
3.
out,
So
okay.
it's the optional step. And so then it just gives it to our discretion, if it's a sign that's like not really gonna affect the neighbors driving through the community, it's like, do we really need a petition for that?
Because we had discussed that a certain number of residents must
Yeah,
concur with the
yeah.
decision.
And
They
then-
want this
yeah.
change. Okay.
And I could just see that being more of a headache for us, I guess, to get figured out. I think
Yeah.
like Woodbury does the petition thing and, you know, but not some other, you know, New Richmond did have the petition thing, and I guess I haven't really talked to them on how it has gone with actually getting the petition, but not all cities do that. And then I have in here that we would have a traffic safety advisory committee. So another thing that I thought was getting confusing was like having to go to public safety, then getting it approved, then having to go to the residents, and then having to go to public works, and then having to go to council. It just seemed like, again, that's like a lot more burden on us to like be preparing all that information, when I think it makes sense, and this is what other cities have. We have a traffic safety committee. It's basically a combination of internal staff from public works and public safety. So it would be engineering, public works, police chief, fire chief, but I am recommending, more just for ease of staff, we would meet on like Wednesday afternoons. It's just internal staff. We kind of go through the recommendations. We can track meeting minutes. This is what some of the other cities do. You know, we can have the meeting minutes available. If someone, then we would bring it to council. So actually, some of the other communities just bring recommendations and the city manager can just approve them. I think it would just be easier if I could bring the recommendation just to council, then that gives a chance for everyone that's on public safety, public works, the full council can just see what the recommendation is at one time, and that's where we get it like basically approved or denied. And, I'm trying to look into a few things. There are some cool websites, and so I'm looking to see if we can do it with our current GIS, where people can kind of actually, on our GIS web application that we'll have, where people can like fill out the application, they could maybe like track their application, case number 1 is in this stage, or pending, or complete, and maybe something like that. I'm still looking into like what our options are with our current, like, without purchasing like a whole new
Software.
I think it would be interesting.
Yeah.
It would be interesting for people who maybe they're new or they're just noticing a problem to also find out that, there was a traffic study done here before.
Yes.
Whether they have to request it, I don't know if you want to make that an open document on the website or not, but,
Yep.
that they could see, 18 months ago, there was a traffic study.
Yep.
And, so they know at least that, again,
Yeah.
we're trying to let our residents know that we're being responsive, trying to hear their
Yeah.
concerns.
Yeah,
And
that's
so-
what I really like about this too. We will have a method of like tracking, even if it's just in a spreadsheet, whether it's public or not, at least internal staff, no matter who comes, who's here, has access to everything that's been done in the past.
Am I missing, and I might be missing it, but one of the things I really liked about the last one, and maybe I'm not seeing it.
Yep.
Was if you file, I don't want to call it a complaint, but a
Yep,
concern
I know that.
application, unless there's a significant change, that it can't be relooked at for a while. Did you take that out of there?
I took it off.
Okay, you did. Okay.
Yeah, I think I said like within 3 years or something.
Yeah.
I just felt like maybe it's not necessary if, and the fact that you'll kind of see that there was already something done, I don't know if that will be an issue, so I just felt like it maybe
Okay.
was. I was trying to pare it down and
Yeah.
not have too much like extra
Verbiage.
stuff. If it becomes an issue, we can always add,
Adapt,
Yeah.
amend, I should say. Okay.
So I was trying to just simplify it. So that was, I guess, the other bigger thing. I haven't, Jeff has been out on vacation, and so I haven't run the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee by him, but I would look to do that,
Sure. Any other
He'll be fine with
comments
it,
do you
I'm
have,
sure.
Mike, about it?
Yeah, I like it, and I like kind of what your guide is, which is, I do want it to be, I'll just say slick to kind of get through the system.
Yeah.
the last thing I want is you and your staff and all the staff here just burdened by filling out forms and stamping and applying case numbers. But I do like where you're going with it too, that, and maybe that's in the future, but sort of like a, if you're familiar with, the IT department, you have an issue with you forgot your password or whatever, a ticket's issued, so we have a history, who worked on it, and when it's closed, then that becomes a neat little thing we can put in a file. So if someone does have an issue with the same thing, we can reference that. I'm okay with, knowing that this is going to be fluid and it'll change as soon as we find that we shouldn't have done it that way. Without having to go around and get 19 signatures just to submit that. I think that's fair, and we'll find that out. I think too that if the school system changes a bus route and now what wasn't a problem last week is now a bigger problem, you're going to have more of these on the same exact issue. So maybe that's going to be the balance. So because I think an individual should have a voice and say, I don't care if my neighbors don't care about it, I do. So
Yeah.
maybe that's good. I like that we took away the shopping list, the
Yeah,
wish list
right.
of things. So that's all good. I think this is going in a great direction. The one thing, and I suppose wouldn't be just speed, but in general, I don't have a good example, but the idea that we've been alerted of a speed or a dangerous intersection. You guys look at it with whatever tools you have to look at and make suggestions, and city approves that, or council approves that. And if there are already speed studies or whatever, and the answer is we paint more stripes, or we put up 2 signs or whatever, it'd be nice to have then a 1 month, 2 months, something, a follow-up. Maybe that the complainant isn't involved in that, but the city's involved that, all right, we put up 2 more yield signs, or we painted different lines. Did that work? Is the speed down, or is the intersection less, so that we don't just say, there, we solved it for that, and then move
Right.
on.
Yeah.
Sort of
But
like
some way of
a
measuring our
evaluation,
success,
a way
yeah.
to
Right.
evaluate,
Yeah.
did this
That's a good
work? Is it
point.
I
helping?
think that could be, yeah. Do you think something we should say in writing, or that's just something that would be good when we can do it, let's do it kind of thing? Because that also, that's more time than we're going back and, a lot of, if you keep getting complaints and then plus then you're following up, it's like, we'll need a whole new position just for this.
Yeah, and again, the goal's not to, but in your
But-
step 5, let's say, of follow-up and implementation, that could kind of be a subline of that. I think we'd
Yeah,
all
and-
want to know, because I think right now it's, your phone rings and someone's complaining, and so we're
Yeah.
jotting on a Post-it note, I don't know exactly how it goes, or you're getting an email, or, whatever, or, and it is a Band-Aid thing. Well, we'll send a police car over there, or maybe we'll throw up one of the new signs up there. But then we have to, for this to actually fulfill all this work we put into it, it has to have some measurable outcome to it. So you're right. So yes, I'm adding a step, if you will.
Yeah.
But I think it's a natural. Otherwise, we won't know if any of this work has reduced speed or made anything safer without some sort of 2-month follow-up or review or.
Right. Okay, yeah, it's definitely something, because it could be, as, there could also be part of it is did the citizen, do they see a difference,
Because we're not necessarily going to go back and do another traffic study for
Well,
speed
right.
and so
Well,
on. I mean, that
yeah.
takes time, and,
Yeah,
if we have the equipment to do it,
Yeah,
that's helpful, but we
yeah.
might be addressing the next
Right.
person's problem.
Yeah.
Or the next neighborhood's problem or concern.
yeah.
Maybe that's a
Be
good summer
interesting.
project for an intern.
Yes, definitely.
For me,
I said a summer project for the intern.
there you go.
That's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, obviously, as an engineer, I love the idea, you
Yeah.
know. Everything is research and,
Data.
we have, data. But
I wonder if discussion, my one thought, I have a couple thoughts about what you did, and thank you for streamlining things, and I like your application. I was looking at areas where it might put extra pressure on and that we wouldn't have to do to ourselves. So I wonder if you would have to the notify within 72 hours, you know, it's just to say, well, we received it, could it be within a week? Would that take some pressure off? Looking at step 2, I underlined where you had the phrase engineering department, that could that just be reviewed by city staff? Because depending on the time of the year and things, I mean, I've had a number of discussions over the last year or so with the police chief about it. And, you know, he and some of his officers have taken part in putting up some of those devices to flashing for slowing and the ones to monitor speed collecting. I said, boy, don't you have other things to do, you know, than our police chief to do that? He said, well, we get the complaints, that they might often get a complaint. So I wondered if we could say city staff there so it wouldn't have to fall. I mean, that's just an input idea.
Yep.
I do like the having an advisory committee in the sense that the staff sets aside time. That way we get input from everyone to the, like you said, the fire chief.
Yeah.
When he's got to maneuver vehicles through a certain intersection, are we making or suggesting a change there that's going to impede the fire safety when they try to get out there with a truck? So I think that's an interesting concept. I do like that. I do wonder a little bit if public safety is going to feel like it's a committee that they're out of the loop and would rather be in the loop more. So that was my other thought. I know what you're saying. When you bring it to the council, we're all contributing and discussing. So I don't know if there is a role in there somewhere for public safety, or maybe that just adds another layer and more time.
Yes.
Takes longer to
Yeah.
implement something because they only meet once a month.
Right.
I think as
That
public,
too, yeah.
I would speak as a Public Works Committee member that if our department head feels like this is an okay thing, it meets the minimum, you know, the uniform code, and isn't impeding the work of our staff or creating extra work, then I would feel pretty comfortable with things. I personally wouldn't feel like our committee had to see everything. I don't know how the rest of you are feeling about that. Things to be, one other comment I had on step 5 with follow-up and implementation. Recommendation will be made, citizen is notified, or group of citizens, if it happens to be, documented that they were notified, and then that citizen is notified of the council meeting. So if a group of people do come to council, we're going to have to make an exception for them, because normally they are not allowed to speak on the night of an agenda item. So that would require, I mean, I
Okay.
don't know that's
Got
that
it.
statute or just policy.
I think it's policy. I don't know.
You know, and the
I
mayor
guess.
may be happy to step aside from that, but you know,
Okay.
so
I
often
didn't
it's a public
realize.
hearing or something like that when people are allowed
Okay.
to speak about a topic for that evening. So I don't know if that would
Yes.
Okay.
throw
so
a
I
monkey
didn't-
wrench in there. And all, I
Okay.
like the idea that I appreciate the spirit of it, of communicating with the people.
Yeah.
The people in the neighborhood, so they can know that, okay, we're discussing it, we're going forward.
Well, and maybe even it is that change of just saying a public hearing will be held.
Right.
So-
Or they could just decide to make the comment at the beginning. Oh, they can't
See, they're
comment
not
on
allowed to
agenda items.
comment,
Okay.
if the
Yes.
agenda
Okay,
item,
got
yeah.
it.
Well, it was.
Yeah, or I can make it a public hearing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could make it a public hearing on the agenda. I mean, that's.
We might need to, I mean, we could seek
I don't
input.
know.
One of that is, the idea of speaking that night, part of it is in the state of Wisconsin, we're representative government. It's not like a town hall where, in certain, like the New England states where everyone stands up and speaks their piece and then they vote. That the design is that way that, if you want to contact your representatives, do so ahead of time. Because that night you don't get to, try to sway someone from the
Yes,
microphone.
that is, now that you say that, obviously we're trying to streamline and make it so that staff has a little more freedom, but taking away those discussion periods at either public safety or public works where residents can come in and express their opinions and views to council members, that is a good outlet for them that we're kind of taking away from them.
I think Public
There's
Safety
pluses
Committee
and
would,
minuses.
yes, you're right, two things. Public Safety Committee members probably, that's something that they've spent some years, some of those have been on that committee for a number of years and know a lot of these guidelines and may want to be a part of the final discussion, but yes, you're right, the residents could come
Right.
there and speak. Do you have a
Just be
thought,
on
Deb?
could it just be on an agenda item? Just.
Well, they're saying
like
people
a
can't
standing
speak.
committee or a
Oh.
standing item like comments and suggestions, just put it on something like that.
For
On the-
council?
On the council?
I don't think so. I don't,
Okay, so
I
that
think there
wouldn't
are some reasons that we
Right.
don't, and the mayor might get pressure from other.
Yes.
He has kind of held the line on that, and he may feel like he's getting pressure from other very worthwhile things too, where people say, well, I would like to speak tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, it'd be worth looking
it
into.
seems to me, though, I mean, I get what, we are definitely trying, not trying to step on any toes or close any doors where we think one needs to be open. But this application, whether it be paper or online, I mean, that's sort of their way of vocalizing what they have an issue with. And the way it happens now is, you hope someone got your voicemail, or
Right.
maybe got this if they faxed it in, I don't know if they still fax, but, and so, you want to hit a home run with everything you do, but this is maybe get to first base on this, and if I have an issue about traffic, rather than just getting mad about it, now I can fill this out, and then let it run its course, I guess. I don't know if that person then needs to mark their calendar, show up, get in front of the microphone, bring their own charts and layouts, and then redo all, explain this to us.
Right.
Because it might be simple as, there's some kid that just speeds through the neighborhood. So I don't want to get this too far down the road where now, maybe at public safety, okay, I'm just going to throw some ideas out. I'll be fast.
Go ahead.
Maybe that's on the public safety agenda, a real quick report of, we've had 3 concern applications of traffic. 1 was speeding and 2 was loud cars and 3 is running the red lights or something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was.
Okay.
And-
Oh, I see.
Well,
On
and
public
people,
safety
can
meeting.
people
Yes,
comment
Deb,
at
I hear you.
like at our committee, I guess, people can comment on the agenda
Yes,
items.
we do allow
Yeah.
it on the night
Or-
of, yes, but the
Because
council
then the
doesn't.
recommendation
Okay.
could come from like the public safety to put up the stop sign at this
Right,
intersection.
yes.
So I
yes,
think-
they
And maybe
could
this is,
come to a public
a
safety
summary of the,
Yes, I got it, Deb.
the TSAC group. Not just, hey, we had a
Right,
bunch
so-
of things come in the mail, but maybe this is a quick report of, we met last Tuesday, we're working on 3 projects that came in over the last couple weeks. 1, I think we've got solved, 2, we're still gonna work on, whatever. Just to kind of float it out there, and if someone wants to really be a part of it, they're gonna be on the phone with you anyway, saying, and you could
Right.
then suggest, well, public safety is me next week, maybe show up there and we can talk about it.
Yep. So still have the separate traffic safety advisory committee, like with just the internal staff, or just change it to where we just go to the traffic safety committee?
I think you should have.
Or
the
we still
meet
have the
and then have it
internal
on
and then just more of an
agenda.
update
I think-
to traffic
Yeah,
safety?
so step 4, I think
Yep.
bullet point 2
Yep,
would be, instead of take the recommendation to city council, it'd be to public safety.
got it, yep,
Yeah, yep. good.
yep.
I think
okay.
that's a good idea too. I support that because, the police chief is going to be involved, or whoever sits
Mm-hmm.
in his stead. He's not at every public safety meeting, but the majority. He could give that report. It wouldn't have to be you
Yeah,
there, one more
right.
meeting on your list of
Right.
attending.
Yep.
And it could be, we're doing a traffic study. We've implemented our policy. We've got a couple traffic studies going, and maybe he reports, we did a study on XYZ street and found that this was the speeding. If you'd like to see further, the actual data is available for anyone who wants to
Yeah.
inquire. But we're not making any changes in our streets because actually, while there's an appearance of speeding, in fact,
Right.
it doesn't qualify for additional.
What did public safety pass for this policy? So, the reason I ask is we're changing a lot, right? And I just want to make
yes.
sure they're on board with all, I mean,
Right.
do you want to go back
If-
there? Do you want to bring it to
yeah.
council or?
I'm not sure that they voted. I know they had a
It was
good
more,
discussion.
it
but I
was
don't
like a
recall.
vote to bring it to public
Bring it,
works.
pass it on,
Yeah.
right.
And then,
Pass it
yeah,
on to
since I
us.
have made more changes than probably even I thought I would,
Not that I want to kick it down the road another month. But
Yeah,
at this
well,
rate-
that was the only thing, just for like the timeline of it, since everyone is at the council, can we just talk about it at the council? But I also, like, if it it is a bigger change, so if we want to go back to public safety and then to council, like, that works too. If you guys are just open to, it's
I think
gonna
just to
be
get their
it's just gonna
buy-in,
take a little
because
longer to get it approved, and
How they
I know
see
there's
it.
some people out there waiting, kind of waiting for this,
There is.
They
yeah.
want to make a request.
so I don't want to keep delaying it,
I
but.
think your committee is a great idea. I know you all sit down in meeting, you have department head meetings and so on, but this will give a focused time and hopefully can be efficient where you're talking about issues.
Yep.
And applying, because we certainly, while as elected officials, we do make a policy, but these are certain areas where we need your data, knowledge, input on
Yeah,
design and
yep.
things that, it's definitely something that professional input is needed.
So then my only other question is going to be, because then do the recommendations still, the public safety then is where the citizen can say something, then do we still push it to council approval, or are there certain things that no, we can just decide to approve it at the public safety committee? It sounded like some of the other cities, like some things they can just push like directly to the city manager, he signs off, but something like a stop sign, that actually does have to go to council. So we could, if there's something like that too, where we're like, well, this, no, should go to council, but, other little things can just kind of get approved at the committee. What does everyone think about that? Or does just everything go?
What do you think?
Isn't the current format, so if public safety approves it,
Yep.
doesn't it go on the consent agenda and then we could pull it? And if it doesn't pass or it's not unanimous, then it's an agenda item. Is that correct? So I think that
Oh,
step
we
is
do that
kind
with
of,
everything else
So
anyways?
if it comes out of committee with not
okay.
a
Yeah.
unanimous vote, it
Wait.
doesn't go on consent.
Oh, if there is a unanimous vote?
No.
Wait.
unanimous goes on consent.
Oh.
If the, but
At
we
the
could
public
pull that.
safety.
Any one of us could
Right.
pull that.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
further
yeah.
discussion, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, just to make.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it just would go, yes, just,
And it would only be the very next week, usually, public safety, pretty predictably, or 2 weeks, within 2 weeks. They meet the first week of the month, usually, so hopefully it could be implemented.
right, that
But
would
it gives the
be
rest of the council another airing, public, some members of the public are more likely to see what the council is discussing and maybe not
Yeah.
as observant of what's going on each committee.
Okay,
So
yeah. So it
that's
would,
an interesting point. But so you're suggesting, Mike, that probably letting public safety have a chance to discuss this new format?
Mm-hmm.
Probably smart.
I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, they can have some input on it. It's certainly streamlined, which I think is helpful. I do.
Good work.
Yeah, one more thing, kind of, feeding off you, Joy, is that, again, take a few steps out of your
Right.
day. Again, if this is, hopefully there's a really neat online thing that they can fill out, and we can drive everyone to that, because that's so much more shareable and trackable and time-stampable, all that, rather than a piece of paper. Well, that being said, rather than you receive something in and yeah, I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, 72 hours, clock starts ticking.
right.
But if this
Yeah.
if this thing gets received, I don't know if there's an automatic. I'm not an IT guy. You didn't know that, but I'm not an IT guy. But like I've worked with some websites where the order comes in and there's an automatic response. Thank you for your order, and this could be
Yep.
thank you for your complaint. We're happy to have it.
Sure, that's
but
true.
say
Right.
next steps. It'll be reviewed.
Yeah.
And you can give yourself a little leeway.
Yeah.
Next step, it'll be reviewed and by the staff and brought to the next blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So without locking you into a 72-hour
Yeah.
hold, and then you having to type out an email to this guy that sent this in, it's kind of pushing it back on them. And if they want to read the paper or watch the next meetings, they can be
Right.
as active or inactive. And if they're over the top active, they're going to call you anyway.
Right.
And go, did you get my thing?
Yeah.
But this might be a good way of, as they come in, not that you're going to let them pile up, but
Yeah.
if something comes in on a Sunday night, someone can still have that satisfaction of there. I filled out the form properly, I know they got it, because I got that receipt or that callback. I mean, like a electronic call, not a phone callback.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of schedule your week with the crew that's gonna review all this stuff, without the clock ticking over your head,
Yeah,
I don't think.
I'll look at that. We do have it where you can do the online form on,
Good.
or we'll do it online. I'm saying, I think I said in here, you can do the paper copy if that's, someone
Yeah, I
doesn't use
think
the internet.
If someone wants to walk in here, they
Or,
gotta allow that, yeah.
So I'm leaving that as an option, but I'm hoping, that most people, I would tell them to go do it online, so that then it's like it's actually, people have to put in their address, so it's actually like it's like a dot on our GIS system. So that's the nice thing about them doing it online.
And then-
So, but I'll look into the automated response thing would be
Yeah, and
nice.
if you, if you spend a little bit of time on that now, because as I read this,
Yeah.
72 hours, and then you'll communicate the plan of action.
Right.
Someone might, in 72 hours, think, I'm gonna get what day it's
results.
gonna arrive on, and who's gonna install the signage, and what.
Maybe
I don't
it's,
think we need to take that burden on it. To some extent, we might say no to this. We might say, we don't see it as a problem.
the only,
And on the front end, I don't know if you can answer that, and if you do give an answer, now you've sort of overpromised something that might not happen, so.
Right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I apologize. I was the one that was interrupting. I still feel like next steps are a good level setting, and I totally understand what you're saying, and I don't want to overcommit you to anything. And I do think 72 hours is very generous. I maybe 5 business days or something
Yeah,
like that.
yes.
I
I'm
mean,
glad
that
you
was
guys are
very
saying
kind of that. Very
Versus-
incredibly kind of you. But, and maybe it's just not a plan of action, but next steps.
Yeah.
So
Give
that,
yourself some time, wiggle room.
yeah, and just,
We have a complaint system in the city now, if you want to fill it out, and we get some that come through the system, and everybody's tagged on it. So if
Okay.
it's a signed complaint, I'll
Got
get
it.
it. I get everything.
Sure.
And I get it, the chief gets it, I don't know if you
get it.
might get some of
Okay.
them. So there's canned responses that you can put in, and it would say
Okay.
automatically
Yep.
like that, but that's through the system, and I don't know if it can tie
Okay, I
in with.
wonder, I'll have to see, because I didn't know we actually had a
And
system.
maybe you can elaborate on that,
So,
We probably get
whole
what,
complaint system, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
that you can
half a
do-
dozen to a dozen a year through that
Yeah.
system?
okay, so it's not excessive.
No.
So,
Okay.
so it's kind of interesting, some of them that come through.
Oh, yeah.
Well, moreover, it's provided as a link, again, like you said, if we can draw people to filling it out online, if we could have a little bit of, what you might expect.
Yeah.
We're going to confirm that we've gotten your request. It may be some weeks before we implement any traffic monitoring system, and you probably won't know if we're doing our job. You won't
Right,
know when
right.
we're doing it.
Yeah.
There may be a traffic study that's done without your knowledge, so that we can get the best possible data. We could put a little background in there, so this may take some time to implement, depending on workload. There may be other requests that are ahead of that person. Might help a little bit to set expectations. Again, I don't want to necessarily put a time that you will have your answer within
Right.
3 months or something, but it
Right.
could take a while
Right.
to reach. And sometimes the conclusion that our committee and then this staff-driven committee and the public safety committee might conclude that actually there's no change needed there.
Yep.
But we'll take note that there is a concern, people are noticing problems, and hopefully we'll rely on law enforcement to be in the neighborhood more and monitoring speed, because no doubt there's always some speeders. It's the number and the percent that I know you're going to be looking at to make that decision. Is there a change
Yeah.
warranted? How many and how excessive would the speeding be?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing annoying than, like you said, 1 or 2 people that are really going fast, they're
Right.
pushing it, seem to get away with it. And that bothers neighbors. People are genuinely concerned about it, and I understand that.
Yeah, sometimes, even from what people were saying at some of the other conference sessions, but sometimes doing nothing is the best alternative, and you could make a situation actually worse,
Right.
by trying to do something,
Right.
so.
Yes.
some education sometimes on having people understand that, and that can be part of it. You know, I know some of the other cities, well, one of them said, oh, we have educational materials, sometimes we'll send them out. It sounds like maybe that has also backfired, because then the people think the city's saying they're the problem. So I don't know,
Sure.
but there could be some general
Well,
still
I
education.
do think that having public safety have the chance to discuss it, I think they do feel that's their role. Those sort of concerns and questions have come to them in the past, and then also that airs it so the public knows we are addressing it. We have done this study. Here's a, decision. Are we moving forward with a change or additional device or something there, or, what's the conclusion?
Yep.
And that way, again, the public that in that neighborhood as well as others would know that we are responding, we're listening. So at this point, since we're suggesting a few changes and yours still looks like that conference that you went to is very helpful, do you want us to be approving anything, or should we go to public safety? If they approve it, will you all be comfortable
Yes.
just addressing it at council?
Yeah.
I am,
Next
yes.
step, are you comfortable? Is that process okay, Mike?
Yeah.
I'm looking
I-
at
I'd
you here.
probably-
Just
I'd make a motion.
general
Yeah.
general consensus?
No, I'd make a motion to make the edits suggested by Aaron McPhee
Okay.
Anderson. and
Without
for-
having to word them all?
Yeah.
And- Okay,
And
presumptive.
refer it to public safety for review.
okay.
So moved.
Okay,
Deb,
I'll,
you got
I'll
that?
second that. Okay.
Okay, so Deb took good notes, or she can listen. Yay, Rivertown, she can listen to their
Yeah, right.
report, right, their video. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. We've had a good discussion tonight. There's been some changes suggested that we're pleased with the policy, but we have some recommendations to be edited to move it forward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, very good. Again, thanks for all the work on that, Aaron. Okay, our last item under new business is to discuss, in approximately 10 months now, we're going to be needing to sign a new contract for our garbage and recycling refuse delivery service here in town, or pickup service. And so Mr. Mraz has begun to work on the proposal, or request for proposal for us, so. do you
Yeah,
wanna-
so under the direction of,
Through?
under the direction of Public Works Committee, I put together an RFP. So let me start out by saying that this is a draft, and so it's a fluid document. We have plenty of time to talk through this. My plan is to go out to RFP probably in August. So, you can take this document home, you can talk, I think it'll make sense to have it be a standing agenda item, probably now moving forward.
Okay.
Until we finalize the RFP. Obviously, we'll bring it to council at some point in time for everyone to review and comment on, but I'll cover some of the major changes tonight and then answer any questions or, make any changes that you see right off the top of your head. But like I said, if you don't think of anything tonight, you continue to review it over the next month. You want to make changes to it, and, probably try to finalize something probably around, May or June. That way I can make it all look pretty and send it out early August. So, but before I go through the kind of the summary, I got, Deb put this together. I want to pass this out to everyone.
Thank you.
So this is the proposal summary.
Yeah,
Look at it here.
sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So this document here, and I'll include it on a future, agenda packet so the public can see it. But this is kind of the summary of what we're gonna look at for the haulers that wanna come and do business in the city to mark their prices on. So this is gonna be included in the RFP. And basically, the top, it has from 2025 to 2029, because that's a 5-year contract is what we typically do here. So each column is the rate for that given year. And then based upon the service that we're looking to provide citizens, they will give a price on that service. So that this will kind of be the summary of what the residents are going to be charged every year from 2025 to 2029. Okay? That makes sense? So included in that is just your weekly garbage. Right now, we do a bi-weekly recycling, and I'm proposing to keep that. I know we had discussions on doing weekly recycling. We did put in here a larger cart option for people that have a lot more recycling to maybe go through that and still keep it bi-weekly. I know we looked into it prior. The weekly recycling really raised the rates. So that's something that we're gonna maybe wanna discuss if that's the way we wanna go. Right now in our current contract or agreement with Waste Management, we do have a low volume generator cost, so, or a single person or, a senior citizen that generates maybe one bag of garbage every other week, there's an option for them to save some money.
That is a 35 cart.
That has a 30, yep, I'm sorry, so we'll have to add that, Deb, yep.
You have to add that in.
Keeping the same yard waste services. So we have the weekly pickup of yard waste from April through, what is that, through October, Deb? And then we also, yep. And then we also have the sticker program where people can go into, county market and buy a sticker for $3 and put it on a, decomposable bag and put it out at the curbside and call in for pickup. Then we also have the brush collection as well, which we currently have through Waste Management. The new addition is the organics collection. So obviously, food scraps, something, something along that lines that we want to look into. So, okay, having said that, my intention or my vision is it's going to be kind of an a la carte program. So basically, the service providers, whether it's Waste or Republic or some other ones that want to come in the city and take over our refuse recycling services, they will give us the summary of what this all cost, and then we can come back in the RFP. It says that the city has authority to either accept or deny certain services. So based on the numbers that we get back for these services, we can kind of dictate what we want to pick and choose and enter into an agreement with over the next 5 years. Okay. So yeah, the summary is, continue weekly refuse, every other week recycling, and we have the yard waste. We did include the Christmas tree pickup. I have that in RFP, which we currently have for the month of January. And then the bulk items. So if people have like a couch or refrigerator or, something like that, a stove, they can call the hauler. They can schedule a service to come get that picked up at a fee, which will have to be in writing. I want that in writing in the agreement, so that'll also be included into the RFP.
But they're not required.
Correct.
Right.
They're not required to do that.
White goods, they call it white goods.
Yeah. So people can take a white good. I know we have electric service station across from Fleet Farm
Yep.
that people can
Yeah.
take computers and TVs. So it just gives a resident an option if they want to get rid of tires or a couch. They have that option through the service provider. And then the other thing that is a service summary that is included in the RFP, which we do right now, is all refuse and recycling services for city-owned buildings, public facilities, are at no cost to the city.
Okay.
So all of our dumpsters in our parks, our trash containers and recycling containers downtown, those are all included
Included.
in
Okay.
the agreement. So let me stop there and just, do you have any initial questions?
Yeah, I do. So I like the a la carte, garbage cart. I like that.
Yeah.
So the organics, I'm glad that that's going to be out there. And have you experienced that some haulers do have a program for that? Or,
Yep.
So we're not asking for anything strange. And then that would be weekly.
The one thing that I'll request in the RFP is to clarify that level of service, because I know we did reach out to Waste Management probably, 2 years ago now? Has it been that long?
I think it's longer.
Yeah.
It's long, yeah.
And I know at the time, they said it was an all-or-nothing program.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like we could have 50 residents scattered throughout the community pick and choose to do this program. It wasn't enough for them to come over here and do it. So it was like, either we're going to do it for the whole city or we're not going to do it all. Now, that might have changed. And so through this RFP process, that's something that I'm going to want the haulers to explain to us is, what is this service? What does it look like? How can it be implemented
What
in
kind
the
of
city?
commitment we need to make?
Correct.
Yeah, because I think that's such a newer thing. I mean, back, I'm so old, when recycling came about, you know, it took a long time for people to get involved in that. And that would be in this idea anyway, depending on how it goes, you have to have recycling too, right? I mean, that's
St.
mandated by
Croix
the
County,
city.
you have
the
to have
county, okay.
recycling. Yes.
But organics could be an option, that's what you're saying.
Maybe.
Yeah, it maybe, depends upon what the hauler can
Okay.
supply.
Okay,
So it'd be maybe similar to, if everything goes well, it might be similar to the yard waste, right? Where it's a subscription, you have a card.
I have a yard waste card, have done that for a number of years.
okay.
And so that's an option to a resident in the city of Hudson. Not everybody has to have one.
She pays more for it because she's on that, yeah.
Yes,
We're asking for weekly.
Yeah,
Or we're asking for annual, but.
yeah.
Okay,
So I'm thinking, I'm hopefully that they can accommodate that, where if, let's just say you want to do food organics, you pay $40 a month to have a food
Yep.
waste container that they come and pick up every week, and not penalize
that
the
next to me
entire.
doesn't want to do that, okay.
Right,
Yep.
right.
So I
Well,
think that,
the biggest thing will be is if, it'll be interesting to see how the numbers come out.
Yeah.
If they, what do you want to say, make up that difference in the recycling and refuse charges based on what we're paying now.
Yeah,
You know, to
that would be the
compensate.
game that
So
they play, yeah.
that'll be the interesting part, you
Yeah.
know?
but no, I think that's a good layout, and especially if you get a few different competing firms in here, you can really kind of lay that out, so that's good. The only, the one thing in my district, I'm looked upon as the expert on everything city, right? But the biggest thing that people ask about me is, what day is recycling day? Or, you know, what time does the garbage? So communication, I think if you want to find it, and I don't, you know, some people have a little phone number by their phone, other people just have no clue. So I think I think we get a postcard maybe every year. Sometimes we don't get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Hudson, if it could tie into our website. I don't know if people use that as a starting ground for a lot of things, but at least have some sort of way where you can figure out what day of the week recycling is if we go every other week. You know, if maybe you see other people that have organics and you're more interested in it, then you can go on. I think I just ask whoever our new people is, you know, we'd love to really have a easy way to interact with you, and so people know what the schedule is, when there's a holiday, when it changes. It just seems like people just have such issues with
really
that.
do.
They
Well,
really
maybe
do.
at the beginning of the year, the hauler supplies us with the annual schedule based on where the holidays fall and how that shifts, and that's something that we can
We have
communicate.
asked for that, and we have, over the
Okay.
years, it's been pretty good, but I think our last one is.
Yeah.
Did we take it off of there?
Yeah,
because it was
it's off of there now,
And
yeah.
You had a link on the website?
Yeah, we
Oh,
did.
okay.
I think you're right, Micah. We have gotten postcards a few years, but I'm not sure if we have one
Yeah.
this year or not.
Okay.
That shows like, you know, this is when your dates will be, and it shifts with the holiday.
That's helpful. then.
And everyone's in our neighborhood has, at different times, had the different haulers, so they'd say,
Oh,
well, I got the phone
okay.
number, it's right on your garbage can. No, they're no longer in business, so.
Yeah, it's a good, yeah, that's the other thing
Yeah,
too.
I think that would help, and, but no, I like where this is going, and I hope that, I think we did start talking about organics 2+ years ago.
Yeah.
And maybe things have moved along, that this is just something they can say, yep, we have that service, here's how we roll, so, yeah. But no, this looks good, Mike.
A couple of questions. One, brush collection.
Yeah.
I did not know about this. So citizens can put their brush on the curb and pay an extra fee for that?
Has to be certain diameter, has to be cut up in what, 3 foot?
Yeah.
3 or 4 foot.
4-foot bundles, no
Yes.
bigger than 2
Wrapped in
inches in
bundles.
diameter. Put them in bundles, get a tag.
That's probably why I didn't know about it, because
Yes.
it doesn't sound
People don't-
user-friendly.
People don't, maybe twice I've seen it
Yeah.
done.
Okay,
If it's brush that you can put into the other bags, that's fine, to the.
okay. So I'm not going to advertise that, because it doesn't sound user-friendly.
No.
Thank you so much. I'm really grateful that we're having this conversation so early, and the efforts on the organic composting. And although it's maybe new to having it into the Hudson community, it's really a very old concept. And so, but it would be amazing to help reduce the impact on the landfills. Question is, on the bullets, on the service summary,
Yeah.
would it be possible to increase our recycling containers in our parks? I know we have the ones downtown, and would it be possible to ask to have a say in what those containers look like? Because they aren't the greatest.
I don't like the way they look.
Sorry. I mean, some of them have the spot where only the plastics go in there and other ones don't have that. And if they're contaminated, then that could,
Well, this is our opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
'Cause
At least
that's how
ask.
We've gotten it all the years is during our negotiations.
Yeah.
That we have gotten the new cans and
Exactly.
added stuff, so.
Yeah, it's in here. Contractor will provide at no charge to the city a total of 30 decorative heavy-duty litter containers for the downtown area. Of those containers purchased, 20 shall be designated for trash and
Okay.
10 shall be designated for recycling.
okay,
City
sorry,
Hall
I
shall be
missed that.
adhered.
Where's, what?
Page 29 of 35 of your packet. It's right underneath the chart for all the Parks Department and Water Department.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's okay, thank you for clarifying
Yeah.
that.
You know, the thing with the parks, and this is just general experience of collecting trash in parks in my early days in recycling, is you'll have a few people that adhere to the rules, right? And recycle well and recycle correctly. And then you have a vast majority that don't care, especially in parks that are kind of outliers. And if the garbage can's full on a weekend,
Yep.
they're throwing their trash. And as soon as they do that, that whole bin of recyclables is you
Is
can't take it.
contaminated.
So that's the problem that we run into. And we see it downtown as well. I mean, on busy weekends. And so I know St. Croix County is putting out educational stuff all the time about how to
Yeah.
recycle right. And it's
Yeah.
an ongoing battle, and it always will be an ongoing battle, based on my experience. So, but I know where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just don't know if it's realistic,
okay.
you know.
And that's why at least those, like, little protectors in there so that it's
Yeah.
harder
Exactly.
to violate.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because some of the ones downtown, they're just a garbage can.
I know.
Yeah, so that might be something that we can request. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So the other thing that I wanted to point out for this tonight specifically is on page 28 of 35 of your packet, the fuel surcharge, okay? So our current agreement, we have a fuel surcharge wording in our current agreement that we have with Waste Management. So if diesel fuel goes up to a certain level, they have the ability to pass along those costs to the residents, okay? We'll get a lot of phone calls about that. I don't know if you do as well. My bill went up, and then it's like, it's the fuel is high, so they can pass on it. So there's a lot of confusion between the private provider, the city, and then the customer. And so I kind of took some skeletons of little bits and pieces from our current agreement, some other RFPs that I saw, and some other communities are just taking out the fuel surcharge entirely. Having said that, if you take out that fuel surcharge, you might see a higher rate to incorporate that discrepancy in your weekly refuse and recycling. So I want to get your feedback on what you think about that. Would you rather see the fuel surcharge in here and see a lower rate and then deal with the confusion when it comes along? Or do you want to just see that removed completely and just, this is your rate for the whole 25, 26, 20, and it doesn't deviate?
Does the surcharge, is that a line item on your bill now? Or is it just all of a sudden it went up a little bit?
Well, I think we aren't allowing a surcharge right now. Is that correct? So right now,
I
our
don't even know that we've really even implemented a surcharge.
Pardon me?
I don't even know that they've really had to implement it.
yes,
Thought they-
because,
Didn't they do that a
Maybe
couple of years
well,
ago?
about a
That
year ago,
issue, yeah.
turn of the calendar year, about a year ago, there was a surcharge applied. Everyone
Yeah.
knows fuel costs have gone up. And I believe staff got enough phone calls, and how I'm remembering it is that the current contract does not allow the surcharge. So
that's right. I do
because
remember
our
that.
current provider had agreed to that contract.
Yes.
That they were not allowed, as they had to back out of what they were
It's a
trying
dollar
to
amount, I
implement.
believe, if it goes over a certain dollar.
So
amount.
there's no
Okay.
fuel surcharge if the price of diesel fuel remains at a rate of $3.85 per gallon or below. If it's above that, they have the ability per our current agreement to charge more.
So that is in place right now, okay.
Yep.
So at that time, I mean, I think it did become an issue
Yeah.
about a year ago, and yeah, that's a good point, good strategy, because you're right, they are gonna protect themselves, I mean, they're a business, and they've got to keep trucks on the street and pay their fuel costs. And so in other words, you're saying if we prohibit them from having a surcharge or make it too restrictive, they might just say, okay, fine, we're gonna just charge you more flat. Every month of the whole contract, you're gonna pay more to protect, because again, they are gonna protect their
Yeah.
profit level too.
So right now, the fuel surcharges that are in our current agreement, it's nominal. It goes up 10 cents every time the diesel fuel goes up. So, for example, when the diesel fuel price is like $3.85 to $3.94, they can add an additional 10 cents per home.
Okay.
If it's all the way up to $4.75 to $4.84, they can add $1 to every home. And it goes up, it goes down 10 cents.
I think what happened is they made a pretty good jump.
Yeah,
A few
I think you're
bucks.
right.
Yeah.
They
I
went
made a
over
few-
what was
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
agreement.
Like January
$10 or
2023
something,
or
yeah.
something. It
So
was
what-
like, boom, up it
Whether,
went.
well, I remember that. I appreciate you bringing that back. So going forward, my 2 cents would be, I like your idea of, give them some tools to make our prices as low as they can be. If diesel does spike, I think as long as everyone knows how the game is gonna be played.
Yeah.
And then that could be a separate line item specifically to individual bills. If we say it's $40 a month for whatever your service is, rather than that popping up to $45 now, I'd rather have a line item, fuel surcharge as of whatever dates, I think with a lot of stuff, if it's communicated that this may happen, then it's not the city's issue or whatever, read the paper, gas is going up, diesel's going up.
Maybe, like,
So I'd be okay with that, because I'm with you. On the flip side, I would for sure, I'd start padding my quotes right now, because I don't know what diesel's gonna be in
Right.
2028, so, I like that idea of,
Keeping that in there, okay.
keeping it in there and see what they.
Yeah, a 5-year contract, a lot could change.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you want to keep it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we do a switch, communicate it to all the customers. And, but again, I think, I could be wrong, but I think where the calls came from wasn't your monthly service went up? It wasn't a line item, so people didn't know where it came from.
It was
If they-
monthly service. It was a mix-up. I don't know
Yeah.
what was.
So to avoid that, if it was a separate line that added a dime to my house, because in April it was really crazy, that's palatable,
Sure.
so.
Sure.
Okay.
But we need
That's
to
my
look at
opinion.
the rate or the dollar amount, I think, to see where you're at, unless it's still within reason, I guess. You can use the same
Same chart.
chart.
Or we could just keep it open-ended and say, to keep rates low, the city is requesting a fuel surcharge, chart
Yeah,
for a certain dollar for fuel costs over X amount,
yeah, we could do that, too.
That way, we're not dictating, because let them dictate to us
Right.
what those prices are gonna be, and then we can compare it between the companies. So,
Any other comments, feedback for his work here? So you're going to continue to fine tune this?
yep,
So there is time for us to discuss it again, or you said maybe each month?
yeah, I
We'll
think,
talk
I
about
think
all
for the
that.
next couple of months, we keep it on, and as you come up with things, we'll just keep adding to it or subtracting, if you get more of a chance to read through it. I know it can, it's basically the summary, and then the remaining document just kind of explains the summary out, what each component is. But yeah, once we're all comfortable with it, then we'll bring it forward to council for final, review and approval, and then it'll be ready to go for RFP when we do.
thank you. Thanks a lot.
Good, thank you. Okay, so that is no action tonight. Item 7, project update. Do we have anything we need to be updated on?
No.
Your staff, you've got plenty of salt, I'm
We've
assuming.
got plenty of salt. We
Your
are.
staff is keeping
yes.
busy with other things besides snow
Yeah.
removal.
We are doing a lot of stormwater pond maintenance right now. We're doing a lot of ash tree removals right now. And so the crew is definitely getting a lot of tree work, taking advantage of the nice weather. So It's been, it's been bad for winter fanatics, but good for others. And it's a good
Yep.
time to get out and do a lot of work, so.
Yeah, and that's great, because it's a way to kind of stretch the budget a little bit. Your
Yeah, we're
staff is
saving
here
on,
and-
yep,
right.
saving on fuel costs, saving on overtime costs. The salt, we contract that every year, so whether it's snowy or not, we have to take that salt, so.
okay.
I was wondering
It's not
about
like we
that.
can save on. Now, having said that, next year's budget, we'll have a surplus of salt, so we can save money in next year's budget.
Okay.
For that, so it does come through.
Sure.
The problem I'm gonna have is if we don't have any significant snowfalls or ice storms between now and, let's just say, beginning of May, I'm gonna scramble to find a spot to put the salt that we need to take. We need to take probably another 1,000 tons of salt. So that's 2 full salt sheds up at our current facility that I still need to take and put somewhere. So, we'll see, like I said, we're kind of gonna get through, we'll get through March, and by the third week of March, I'll have to start making some phone calls to other municipalities or the county, see if they have room, or work with the dealer or supplier to see if, because I'm sure we're not the only community
Right.
in this,
Right. Could they hold it?
situation.
Right.
Because right now, you have to have all of our salt ordered by, I think it's April 15th.
And we're committed to buying
committed
it.
to
That's
that.
how
We're
we
committed.
assure ourselves
Yep.
that we don't run out.
Yep.
So even if we could pay them, but they would keep some of it on hand, like, this is Hudson's pile, I don't know.
I think there
They
is.
probably have only so much space.
They, now that you say that, they do have something in their contract where they do keep it on, they can't keep it on site, but it's a fee to the city to keep it on site
Had to pay
beyond
it
that.
before. It's
Yeah,
not
you've
like
had
it-
this
oh,
before.
Yeah, it's not like we haven't paid it before.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
I think,
Different year,
I think
for
you
sure.
just cursed us now.
Yeah, we haven't
I'm
had
sorry.
this the most.
Okay, any, item 8, any communications or comments for future agenda? All right, very good, then perhaps we're ready for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second that?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned, thank you very much.